Good morning. Susannah here from the Good Property Company. I'm here with you guys on the beach in Barcelona. You can see people starting to swim. You can see the folks starting to clean up the beach from the partying last night. That always happens. Over there we've got some beach volleyball already, and I'm going to do a workout later on this morning and then go for a swim in the sea. But first I thought I'd shoot a couple of videos for you guys. So I'm going to keep the sun behind me so that you've got a nice view of the beach. How to buy and refinance a property. If you're new to property, you may have heard of this mythical, and it isn't mythical, but it feels mythical when you've never done it before. You mean I can buy a property discounted, refinance it and pull my money back out? Yeah. And when I first heard it, I was like, no, you can't. That's just like a myth. That's a con. That doesn't happen, because you're not taught it at school. You're not probably taught it in your family, unless like you're my children. You're not. It feels against the natural law of economics, doesn't it? But can we just move to language we do understand? You are buying wholesale. You're buying something retail wholesale. So it's as if you've gone to the producer or the wholesaler and you've cut out the retail shop. That's as simple as it is. Now with that concept, you understand buying properties discounted. I've done tons of videos. In fact, I've got a whole playlist for you on my YouTube channel. Definitely worth checking out on how to buy properties discounted. So we're not going to cover that today. We're going to assume you found a property that is discounted. End of story, okay? And you've agreed it, you've bought it, and you've renovated it. You will never buy a property discounted unless you know what it's worth done up, full value, because that would be crazy. So how to assess that? 45 pieces of research, 20 solds, 20 on the market, and 5 estate agent opinions, all within a kind of quarter of a mile radius of the same type of property as yours. So if your property is in a council area and then 2 streets away, say you're in a big city like London, it's very fancy. Obviously you don't count those very fancy houses because they're not like for like, are they? You need to be comparing apples with apples. So you already know that this property was bought discounted but is actually worth a lot more because you've been able to get it discounted. Check out my videos on the YouTube channel for you, and also have a look at my website, thegoodpropertycompany.co.uk. I've got a whole section on sourcing discounted deals for you that you can download straight away and get started. Now, you will have probably taken a mortgage. If it's in bad nick, you'll have taken a bridging loan, but you've probably taken a mortgage out. But before you do that, you know you're going to be refinancing, buy, refurb, refinance and rent out. So we know we've got it discounted. We know done up it's worth more, and there's still quite a lot of gap between purchase and renovation cost to the end value. That's your equity profit. You can't eat it, but it increases your worth. And you've got 2 options when you take out this initial mortgage. You can either say to your broker, look, I am going to want to do a further advance. A further advance is when you turn round back to the same mortgage company and say, look, I was so lucky. Like, I bought it for 100, but it's worth now 150. So can you do me, and say you were doing it 75% loan to value, which means you're borrowing 75% of the purchase price. When you bought it, you got it for 100, so you borrowed 75 grand. It's now worth 150, so you're going to take 3/4, 75% of 150, which is 112,500. So if you bought it for 100, then your renovation costs are still got to be quite low, and because you've got finance costs, you've got legal costs. But say you renovated it for about 7 grand and you had about 5 grand finance and legal costs. You're going to pull all of your money back out because you turn around to the mortgage company and you say, it's worth 150 and here's all my evidence, and what did I do to it? I was lucky, I bought it discounted and I renovated it, and here's the before photos, the after photos, etc. So can you please give me the same loan to value, 75% of the current value of the house, which is 150,000. That's called a further advance. So you wouldn't go into this mortgage without telling your broker, not only am I buying this house discounted, I'm also wanting to take out a further advance, please. So your broker needs to match you with a mortgage that will give you a further advance. Be warned, if you've never taken out a buy-to-let mortgage before, there are some companies, and I came a cropper in this, I had £1 million worth of equity. I wanted to put 1 million people, not like 25 grand, £1 million £100 worth of equity I wanted to pull out of some of my properties, I hadn't done this fundamental basic, which is tell my broker I will want in the future, within the 5-year fixed of this mortgage, to take out a further advance. Can you match me with a mortgage that will allow me to take out a further advance? So I was like, woohoo, let's take £1 million out, let's go and buy £4 million worth more of property. And the mortgage company went, no. And the reason they said no was they didn't actually supply the money. What they did was borrow the money from a third party and then supply it on. So basically, once they borrowed all the money, once they'd allotted all the money, they didn't have any money left for further advances. And they literally said to me on the phone, we can only give you the money when other people pay back their mortgages. So I was stuck. I could either pay redemption fees, which are huge. Redemption fees are when you want to get out of a mortgage early. You're basically buying your way out of the contract, and they'll typically be something like 5% of the mortgage for the first year, 4% second year, 3% third year, 2% second, and maybe they stick at 3% years 3, 2 and 1, or maybe they're down to 2%, or maybe they're down to 1%. You need to be very mindful of the redemption fee. So I had that choice. Do I spend a huge amount of money buying my way out of these mortgages for further advance, or do I stick? So number one, you check that your mortgage company can do further advances. Number two, you find out how much they're going to charge you on fees and interest. Usually fees aren't that big, it's the interest. Where you maybe had a mortgage at like 2.5, 3.19%, the further advance may be anything like 6.49, so, 7%. What? Well, they got you, haven't they? You can't move. So number one is check they will do a further advance. Number two is check the fees that they're going to charge you and question yourself, is that the applicable mortgage for me for the current property plus the further advance? If it's not, ask your broker to find another one, but you do have a second alternative. If you are so sure you've done 45 pieces of research and you're going to pull all your money back out of the property in 6 months, one of the sensible things you might consider is taking what's called a bridging loan. I know, it's like really scary, like what's it's not. The first time I did it, it was, but it really isn't. You would take out bridging loans are basically a bridge to go from A to B. So they're short-term loans as such, because they don't earn money from you for 25 years. They cost more, which you can kind of understand, because they've got to do the same amount of due diligence but for a much shorter period, so they're going to charge you more interest. I get that. So you might want to say, I'm going to do a short-term lend from position A, it's a bit knackered, to position B, I've done it up and it's worth a lot more, and then take out a mortgage, a buy-to-let mortgage, to pay off the bridging loan. And I've done that plenty of times before. And it's just really what costs less. I don't think that's correct English, but you know what I mean. Because you want to end up with all your money pulled back out. So what's the purchase price? What are your legal fees? What are your interest costs? What's the renovation? What are any other auxiliary fees? And does 75%, if you're going to do 75% loan to value, of the new value price pay out all of your cash? And if it does, you've done buy, refurb, refinance and rent out and pulled all your money back out. That is called a no money left in deal, which is, I've done loads of them, guys. They completely exist. The third option, if you're struggling a little bit, and I've got lots of information on all of these skills you need on my website. It's called thegoodpropertycompany.co.uk. You've got a whole section on finding investors, a section on being a property investor, a section on finding deals. Really worth you going over there. I put a lot of work into it, really high quality education, we did £45 million worth of property sourced for 30 million quid. So you can imagine the kind of knowledge that I've transferred over, and everything is immediately downloadable for you. The third option is to say to yourself, well, I know I'm buying it for 100 and I know it's worth 150. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to borrow the entirety of the money to buy it from a private investor. I've done that so many times. And then, if you don't have any money, I'm going to borrow the amount of money to refurb it from a second investor. Again, I've done that many, many times. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a mortgage to pay that off, because I'm sure I bought it for 100 and I know it's worth 150 because I've done so much research. Oh, we got a dog coming up. Maybe he'll come into shot. So you've got 3 ways of funding it before you pull all your money back out if you've got your figures right, which is a mortgage with a further advance. Check, they'll do a further advance and check the cost of the further advance. A bridging loan refinanced out to a mortgage, and then a private investor, either they fund the house and the refurb, and I've done that, and then you refinance it out to a mortgage. The key is you found your property discounted and you've got numerous ways of being able to fund it. What do you end up with? A property rented out, making you money, please 10% yield and above. Yield is annual rent divided by purchase price, with none of your own cash left in. So given that the third option, private investor, means you don't even need to put any of your cash in the first place, my question to you, dear lovely one, either starting in property or continuing in property, is how many of those deals can you do? And the answer is infinite. It's only limited by your ability to find the money to fund it in the first place, and there are tons of investors out there, and your ability to find deals, and 1 or 2 in every 100 is discounted. So there are tons of deals out there. Interesting, isn't it? I'm going to go for a workout. Have a nice day, and I want you to get started in property. But before you go, remember to subscribe to the channel. Loads of videos I've got planned for you. I'm quite excited about the schedule of videos for you guys. And really importantly, because I've created a really good quality website ready for you to download all your education, hop over to the website, which is thegoodpropertycompany.co.uk. Everything, when I got started, it would have been everything I wanted or needed when I got started. Downloadable for you straight away. Good luck, good luck. I'm going swimming in the med. Bye. If what we've put out for you guys really works for you, then fabulous. Support our channel, click the like button, and thank you so much.